Do-do-do. It is Sunday, October 11th, 2015. This is Real on the Field Goals, and this is the Instant Reaction Podcast, the show that comes out after every Seahawks games, win or lose, no matter how heartbreaking. We will bring you this episode. Myself, Kenneth Arthur, my co-host, Danny Kelly, fieldgoals.com. And as always, brought to you by the Ballard Agency Insurance, ballardagency.com, 425-454-3510.
No song.
No song. Just tell them that Field Goals sent you. Come on, you got insurance needs, so use them up. And I want to start out. So the Seahawks lose to the Bengals in overtime, 27-24. I guess my instant reaction is that sports and the desire to root for a team in sports, it's really just a construct of the mind. So my life goes on the same, win or lose. I like to win, but really it has no bearing on the overall happiness, perhaps in my life. So I just take that.
Opening.
I would start with that. Danny, how do you feel about this game?
Yeah, I mean, I went into the game, obviously as people who listen to our show may know, I picked the Bengals to win. Kind of was not expecting necessarily, but it wasn't going to be totally crazy in my mind if the Seahawks end up losing this game. Obviously they did that, but the fashion with which they lost was just gross. It was just demoralizing, annoying, frustrating. That all the whole spectrum. There's a whole bunch of things now that just make me really, the whole like fourth quarter meltdown thing, like Jimmy Graham, completely invisible this game again. All these things that I really didn't want to become narratives are kind of actually, I'm kind of starting to believe them a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I didn't want to believe the Jimmy Graham thing. And, based on the numbers, it really wasn't worth believing. But again, in a big game, I don't even know, did he get like 3 or 4 targets total all game? Like, at some point you have to actually make a conscious effort to just feed him the ball. And obviously I realized that interception was, going into him, but that doesn't stop you from throwing it to him. So I don't know. And then obviously the fourth quarter meltdown, just the defense, lost its mojo. They don't have any teeth late in games lately, it seems like. So all those things together, just gross, just a gross game.
Yeah, if you really think about it, the Seahawks have blown fourth quarter leads in 6 of their last 7 games. If you count the fact that they practically almost did it against the Lions, the only time that they haven't done it is, technically they didn't do it against Detroit, but they came very close. And then the only one they haven't is the Chicago Bears. So there is a problem there, it would seem, not just on defense, but on offense, and not being able to have sustainable drives. Thomas Rawls, was amazing in the second quarter and the third quarter, but again, they couldn't get enough. They would get like 4 or 5 yards, but they couldn't get enough to get first downs in the fourth quarter, because it takes more than just a defensive performance to get outscored 17-0 in the fourth quarter. It's pretty wild that they lost that game. I'm sure that a lot of interesting facts are out there about blowing leads and coming back from things, and I don't really want to look at them. How would you evaluate Russell Wilson's performance in this game?
Well, before the fourth quarter, I was really encouraged. Obviously, he played pretty darn well, had some really nice throws. That interception to Graham, he probably forced that in a little bit, but he got batted up in the air really high, and that tends to happen. Those types of things, or those type of hits, tend to get turned into interceptions. So that was a bummer. But overall, I thought he played really well until the fourth quarter, and then, but yeah, after that he was pretty much terrible. So, it really doesn't help that he got in overtime. I will say for Wilson, like he didn't play well in the fourth quarter or overtime, but it really does not help when you have guys that you're throwing to. Literally the ball hit 2 palms of their hands.
Right.
I understand that the defense is on their, back, or maybe hit them a little bit before they went up for the catch or whatever. You're a professional football player. It hit you in both of your hands.
Right.
At some point, and this is a total cliche, and I've said this a ton of times, but I actually really do just believe it. The teams that make more big plays tend to win. At some point, the Seahawks needed to make a big play, and they just didn't. They couldn't.
They did I mean, they had a lot of big plays in the beginning. In the first
Right.
3 quarters, it was amazing to watch the Bobby Wagner return,
Yeah.
or the Thomas Rawls run, and it's like they had some of those plays, and then but when it came down to it, like a big play would have been Richard Sherman intercepting that pass, or
Right.
Tyler Lockett holding on to that ball
Or
that hit
Luke
him right in the
Wilson,
hands.
that catch that hit him right in the hands, or the other one that it's like conversely, it's like Tyler Eifert making that over the head, over the shoulder catch with Cam Chancellor draped all over him, making that catch. Like,
Right.
I mean, they just made big plays when they needed to. Or Andy Dalton checking to the quarterback keeper when the Seahawks showed the defense they show in that situation late in the game, where he just kind of quarterback snuck it for 10 yards or whatever.
Right.
I mean, those are the big plays that the Seahawks just didn't make late in the game here, and the Bengals did make those plays, and so hats off to them. Obviously, everyone is going to kind of talk about the Seahawks and how shitty their defense was and all that, but you have to give credit to the Bengals because they made some huge plays in this game, especially late. So I mean, obviously credit to them, but yeah, I mean, this is going to be kind of a tough week, even though I think people, well, I don't know if expected is the right word. I don't know what the word is. We're braced for the loss this week. I think the way they lost is just so frustrating. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the Seahawks react to this because, again, like you said, 6 out of 7 fourth quarter leads. Are they going to bounce back, or are they going to kind of start withering? Is it going to be like, I don't know. It's just it'll be an interesting way to see how it goes.
They got the Carolina Panthers this week at home, and that's a team that they've managed to beat, even though some of the games have been pretty close. It seems like that, if they can come out of that with a win, that's going to be much more concerning, I think, if they manage to lose at home to the Panthers, even though the Panthers are 4-0. To lose at home to them would sort of be like, okay, now you're 2-4. Now this is going to be really difficult to think about playoffs this year. Now maybe it's the time that we wonder about the long-term future of the team. But you still don't want to pin everything on a game or two. It's just
a long season.
They'll be 3-3 if they win that game, and that's what they were last year. So, I think we also forget as time passes that we've had these upsetting losses before in the last 3 years. We've had these losses where they're like, there's no way that they can be a successful team because of the way that they lost to the Lions in 2012 or the Dolphins in 2012 or the Chiefs in 2014.
Forgot about those, yeah.
Yeah, or like, there's even this season, some of their losses, it's just you would be concerned, but I don't. At the same time, I have to think, that for 3 quarters, I mean, in the very beginning, the Bengals just went right down on them, and that was concerning. But then the Seahawks came back, and then the Bengals almost, if it wasn't for a holding penalty, threw an 80-yard touchdown pass to A.J. Green. At that point, it was like, yeah, this is going as poorly as I expected. But then, you also have to think that they also went to Cincinnati and were up 24-7 in the fourth quarter. So there's more talent on this team than pretty much any other team in the NFL. Maybe save for a couple. So
yeah,
there is something there where you're like, yeah, I could see this team still reeling off 11 wins, 12, maybe 12 wins when it's all said and done because they're just that talented. They just need to figure out what they're doing wrong in the fourth quarter of these games.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, obviously they're still a really good team, and I'm not like sounding the like, oh, season's over, like, blah, blah, blah. Like we said, like, I mean, a lot of people probably thought this was a loss when you look at the schedule. So it's not the end of the world. It's obviously troubling on many levels. But, I mean, yeah, it was just they got to figure it out pretty soon here. 3 losses in the first 5 games. That's obviously not ideal.
Right. So, I mean,
they've really put themselves up against it, honestly. Like the margin for error is just about 0 at this point. Well, not 0, but it's really small at this point now. And so obviously, last year we were talking about the Seahawks at 6-4, and then they rattled off 6 straight wins. At this point, the Seahawks, really they kind of got to go like, I don't know, they got to win. I would say at least 8 out of their next 9 games to win to make it to the playoffs. I don't know. It's just like I said, the margin for error is very small. It's coming down to it. They got to really start putting it together and stringing together 4 quarters of good play. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough.
Well, that's I expect them to basically, if they can go into the bye week at 4-4, that'd be fine. I think that they would be just fine at that point. So they need to win 2 of their next 3, in my view, which I believe is Carolina, San Francisco, and Dallas, if I'm not mistaken.
Which they can do, of course.
Which they can do that. So, but they'll definitely need to play better. They will need to play more like they did in the second and third quarter than they did in the fourth. If they can do that and it can actually put together a complete game, really for the first time all year, that would be just super. Remember, sports, it's fine. Sports, it's not as big of a deal as, one of your parents dying or something like that. So,
True. The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat.
Right. You got to compartmentalize these sorts of things. So that is it for it's the quick instant reaction show. Reel on the Field Goal. Subscribe on iTunes. Listen through SoundCloud on fieldgoals.com. Call 425-454-3510 and tell them Field Goal sent you. To the Ballard Agency, insurance company, Kirkland, Washington, 50 years, same family, and they're just looking to help out your family-run business as well. So it's a nice kickback if you can tell them Field Goal sent you, and try to keep watching the Seahawks this year, even through the pain.
Yes, agree.
Bye-bye.